Welcome to the Penny Bloom Podcast. Ain't another place that has got more bombast. Romp past your mom, dad's listening to Tomcats. Talking everything that make you sad. We don't want that. We're here to make you smile. Put your mind at ease. Peace, love, and bloom, and always praise Keanu Reeves. This what we about. Get some weed in now. We'll talk until we can't no more, and then we peacing out. Alright, let's go. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. It's the Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Penny Bloom Podcast. Hey everybody, welcome into the Penny Bloom Podcast. It is me, Colton Robertson, and today, sadly, I am penniless. But that does not take away from the strength of my guests. Today, I am joined by some of my favorite Star Wars companions. We've got Joseph George. Say what's up, Joe.
What's up?
Glad to have you, man. And I've also got Miles Buttress. Say what's up.
How's it going?
You know, it is what it is. Today, we are here to talk Season 1, Chapter 1 of The Mandalorian, titled The Mandalorian. Guys, when this was about to come out last year in November, do you remember the feeling you had?
100%.
The intense excitement.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I was just so happy that this was coming out. And then that first episode hit. And you were like, okay, we are entering a fucking new world of Star Wars.
New era of Star Wars.
Oh, it was beautiful.
And whenever I first saw it, I didn't have my expectations super high because I never like to go into anything with my expectations high, or movies or TV shows, because I don't want to get disappointed if I think it's going to be like so amazing before I go in.
I get you.
And then I just watched it and I'm like, oh shit, like yeah, this is good as fuck.
And I remember the first time I watched it, it was like building this whole time. They were like, there's this client, and I was like, okay, this guy is Werner Herzog. He's a fucking great character. He's probably going to be the main antagonist of the show. And then he wasn't. And then like they're talking about the asset, the bounty in this episode, and it's like a 50-year-old, and you're like, what's this building towards? And then you get it, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you're like, what 50-year-old is there that's still left of significance at this time?
Yeah, no shit. I mean, I was just like racking my brain. I was like, well, this is like post-Empire, 50 years old. They would have been around during the Clone Wars. Maybe it's someone from that era. And then lo and behold, just the child, Baby Yoda,
The child,
fucking
the legend,
the legend. So how this is going to work is I've got a full episode breakdown. We got scene by scene. We're going to talk about this shit through and through. And then next week, we'll do it again. Next week, after that, we'll do it again. You know, we're just going to do this until season 2 comes out because, you know, we love The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So this episode opens on Mando with his tracking fob. And I was like, okay, you know, we haven't seen the tracking fob technology yet. And I thought that was interesting. They did a really good job in the show about blending old elements of Star Wars and with new ones that we hadn't seen before. Mm-hmm. And we get to this cantina setting where a bunch of dudes speaking Huttese are giving a Mythrol a tough time. And they're like, yo, we're going to kill you. We're going to take your skin. And I was like, that's a little rough, but, you know, it is what it is. And then enter Mando. And got that classic do fucking great music that plays every time Mando walks in a room. I mean, I love the introduction of this character here. He sits down calmly. These guys are just berating him with words. You're like, yo, you knocked over my drink. And he's like, shut the fuck up. I'm just going to sit here. I'm going to mind my fucking business. They walk up on him. Bartender slides his drink down to him, and then it's fucking on. Smashes the cup against his head. Beats the shit out of all these dudes, and then cuts a dude in half with a door. I remember watching that for the first time and being like, okay, this is new. This is not like the live action Star Wars we watched before.
This is a different type of Star Wars, and I am in for it.
Oh, I don't think we've ever watched a dude get straight up like. I mean, we've watched a dude get straight up cut in half, obviously with Anakin and Revenge of the Sith, but like. and Darth Maul and Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
But
it's always been with like lightsabers.
with a lightsaber,
the
it's
clean cut.
Yeah, it's not this dude literally got pinched off at the waist.
Damn.
Like
that's a horrible way to go.
That's fucking brutal. And then you just hear the thud of the bodies of the halves of his body on the ground. And he walks over to the Mythrol, and he sets a bounty puck in front of him. And the guy's like, "Is that a bounty puck? The fuck?" And it's got his face on it. And then we get those first words from Mando: "I could bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold." Title screen. I was like, okay. I remember the first time I watched that, and I was like, "Oh, I'm fucking in." Okay, this is that shit right there. How do you guys feel about this? I listen to a lot of like Star Wars podcasts and stuff like that, and there's actually some weird controversy surrounding this blue Mythrol character from the beginning, because he doesn't feel like anything we've ever seen in Star Wars, and he feels more like a Star Trek alien. Do you guys see that at all?
That's interesting. I never really thought about it, but
I never given it any thought either, but then I was like, you know what? It is kind of a weird character. Like, you rarely have these aliens that speak just like perfect English, and they're just like, yeah, I'm just a regular ass dude out here in the cosmos, getting picked off for a bounty. It is. I just found it interesting.
I just looked him up, and man, he just looks like a fish. I don't know. It's really nothing we've ever seen. That's true.
Yeah, it's definitely just a different character design to like a normal like Star Wars character.
Yeah, and that's like I said earlier, a great thing about this entire series is the introduction of new species and the use of old ones that we've seen before. And like just here in a moment, we see another species that we did see in Star Wars: A New Hope, that the one with like the snout that he like whistles through. Mm-hmm. We saw that in Star Wars: A New Hope, but he takes his bounty to that guy, and he's like, "Yo, we need some transportation," and he hails a speeder. And I always liked this part because they did such a good job of like blending in all aspects of Star Wars that we've seen before, prequels, sequels, and we see this little R2 unit spinning out on top of it, like on Anakin's ship in Revenge of the Sith is what it reminded me of. But Mando doesn't like droids. Says, "No fucking droids. Get the fuck out of here."
Definitely not.
And you can't blame him, frankly.
I mean, it is what killed his, entire family and village. That's jumping ahead, but still.
Yeah, but it's a rewatch podcast. People, if you're here, you've watched it, you know what's going down. And frankly, I hadn't thought about it like this, but like, if you lived through the Clone Wars, like thinking back to like Star Wars: A New Hope, whenever Luke walks in there and he's trying to bring C-3PO and R2-D2, and the bartender's like, "No droids." Mm-hmm. Like, that's leftover prejudice, or not prejudice, they're fucking droids, but leftover prejudice from the Clone Wars, that was like these droids fucking fought, or part of the cause for why the Empire even had a chance to take over, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now droids are likely more hated than ever in an Empire society, I'd imagine, or in a post-Empire society. When he hails another little cruiser thing for him, the driver warns against staying on the ice because there are Ravenaks everywhere. And we get to see a Ravenak here in a second, and it's one big motherfucker. It's a monster you do not want to fuck with. But Mando doesn't fucking mind. He'll dispatch this bitch real quick. On his drive away, the driver proceeds to be eaten by the Ravenak. And you're like, well, that's a problem. Then the Ravenak starts speeding at the Razor Crest, which, by the way, kick-ass ship. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites in all of the Star Wars universe, and it's hard to create a classic, and that feels like old school Star Wars. Ship. But the Mythrol is dragged by Mando onto the ship, and then Mando goes and he gets this giant electroshock weapon, and he zaps the fuck out of this Ravenak. And down goes Ravenak.
What a badass. From the second you've seen this dude in the entirety of the episode, he's just a badass in every situation he's in.
I like to think of the Mandalorian as space Batman. I mean, for real though, he's got the utilities. He doesn't have any superpowers, but he'll definitely fuck you up. Like it's just space Batman. But they launch into space, and the Mithril tries to play nice, now telling him that he likes his ship, as opposed to a couple seconds ago where he's like, I can buy us anything, just trying to make it pleasant.
Yeah.
And we learn that here the ship is pre-Empire, so again, he has greater ties to the Clone Wars than anything during the Empire. Still hates droids, has a ship from before the Empire even took over, and then Mando plays the quiet game, as he is one to do. Doesn't give this dude a fucking inch, doesn't talk to him at all, and the Mithril's like, yo, I gotta evacuate my thorax, can I use the vac tube? And, and he goes searching for it, he's walking around, he's like, I haven't evacuated since the solstice, and he's looking for a way out, I'm pretty sure, looking for like an escape pod or something, which, that's a pretty small ship, I don't know what you were gonna find there. But then he finds Mando's weapons cache, he's like, oh shit, better shut that, and then... he finds his carbonite collection.
Ooh.
Whew. He's like, I was hoping to make it home to my family for Life Day. Yep. Finds the carbonite collection, and he goes, but I guess that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And Mando's like, probably not.
You just know from that point, like, might as well not try to fight. Like,
yeah. Oh, not at all.
This dude already has a collection of people, not just one dude.
Yeah,
he's not coming for you. Yeah, he's not just coming for you. He's coming for everyone with a bounty on their head. And you're next.
Oh yeah, and they get to that later when like he meets Grief Karga for the first time to us. He like sets down all the bounty pucks, and then Karga's like, "Here's all the ones I've got available," and he's like, "I'll take them all." I'm like,
yep.
Like, he's just like, "I'll do everything."
Yeah,
because it's easy for me. But after Mando makes planetfall back on Navarro, he heads to the local cantina and. Classic Star Wars feel, you know. We're familiar with these bar type situations like the Mos Eisley Cantina back in A New Hope, and another great example of just familiar species being seen around. We've got like a couple Trandoshans like Bosk. We've got like a Greedo alien. I think they're called Rhodians or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just panning around, it's just chock full of just fascinating characters. It's like a Where's Waldo of cool fucking shit. But then Mando takes his seat with Grief Karga, places the bounties. Shit, my bad. Grief Karga pays Mando for the bounties, and he's like, here's Imperial credits. And Mando's like, well, that's not going to fucking work. The Empire's gone. He's like, fine, I'll give you calamari flan. I love, like, how do you come up with shit like that? Like, the names of currencies. Calamari flan. Those are two different foods.
Yeah. You take the random name that you made up for the aliens, and then you just add another random name to the end of it, and see how it sounds.
Like
LSD.
this, like calamari and flan, like octopus, and like a
Spanish dessert.
Spanish baked good.
It's either some form of drug they take before coming up with these things, or just a random dude is like, you know what, octopus, and they're like, they just go off that for a couple minutes, and they just switch words.
Well, the calamari are the I think they're the you remember Admiral Akbar?
Yeah,
it's a trap. I'm pretty sure those are the calamari.
Yeah,
so that's pretty fucking fitting. But then next we see a little scene of the carbonite slabs getting offloaded off the Razor Crest, which, by the way, fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the idea that after Darth Vader freezes Han Solo in carbonite, and like Boba Fett is there to see it, it starts making its way around like the underworld. Like you can start preserving bounties in carbonite slabs, and now that's kind of the mode in which they do it.
It's pretty badass.
Like that's like Vader was a young trendsetter, you know?
Mm-hmm. No handcuffs, just completely
like,
freeze your entire body.
Yeah.
Hands up, just like fucking no.
I mean, I guess that's, he really said, I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold, and
he chose
really
to
put
go
that
in
to
cold.
good use.
Damn, I didn't even put those two together. I thought cold was just dead, and not in a carbonite slab. That's insane.
It's probably an either or situation.
Yeah.
Like, I'll kill you if I need to, but I'll also throw you in a carbonite slab. And then right here is when Karga shows his available bounties, and Mando's like, I'll take them all. And he's like, yo, I've got more people in the Bounty Hunters Guild. I can't just give you all of this. And here we learn about the Bounty Hunters Guild. A very cool addition to the Star Wars universe. As you already expected, there were a ton of bounty hunters, but now to know that they have like this organization they run through.
Pretty badass.
That's fucking cool. And there's actually an ongoing comic through Marvel that's going on right now called Star Wars Bounty Hunters. And I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure it's like Boba Fett and Bosk and a few others, but like, that's just a fucking cool idea. To have a whole organization of bounty hunters. And Mando's like, well, how much are these bounties worth? He's like, my highest one's 5,000. He's like, that doesn't even pay for fuel these days. Mando, you're such an old grump. And and then
they're in a space recession, all right?
Yeah, they are in a space recession. You know, it's like the Empire just fell. They're in between governments. It's got to be a tough time in the galaxy.
Yeah.
But then he's like, well, I do have this one bounty, the bounty that will change the course of the universe forever. And what's up?
I said, "Ooh, like you're building the suspense."
Oh yeah, you know what it is. And and he directs him to the client. And like this guy never gets a name. He's always just the fucking client.
Yeah.
And he's not even that important, which ends up making sense. He's just a henchman for Moff Gideon later. Mando makes his way to the client through the streets. We see Jawas. And he is greeted at the door by like that same seeing eye droid that we see at Jabba's palace in Return of the Jedi. Like again, another great just we'll use everything from every little bit of the universe ever. It's like they were kids playing with action figures, but they got to put it on TV.
Yeah.
He enters to see the client, and we see a gonk droid. Those fucking things that just waddle and go gonk, gonk. And I'm like, that's just everything. Like, why the fuck do you have a gonk droid here? Like, that's
what
just
are they even for?
Fun.
What do they do?
What do they do? They're just giant trash cans that say gonk. Maybe that's what they are. Maybe they're trash cans that walk around, so you don't have to go to a trash can.
Wow.
Maybe. Stuff to think about. When he makes it to another door, we see stormtroopers on the inside. And I was like, yo, this is fucking cool the first time I watched it. Because I'm like, I knew we were in a post-Empire society. So seeing stormtroopers wasn't exactly something I anticipated. But like, there's still going to be remnant stormtroopers. Like, that makes sense. I don't know why I didn't see it coming. But like, seeing them was fucking cool. And they got that dirty-ass armor. They're worn down. And they're all protecting the client, standing around them. And in the middle of these pleasantries and greetings, he's like, I heard you were the best in the Parsec. And Dr. Pershing enters the room, which sets Mando's guards up. He pulls a gun out, points it at everybody, and the stormtrooper's like, we have you 4-1. And Mando's like, well, I like those odds.
Yeah.
And frankly, I like those odds too. He'd beat the shit out of 4 stormtroopers.
Go get a few friends, and then we can talk.
Yeah. Like, they take down like 60 stormtroopers later. 4-1 ain't no fucking problem. When tensions ease, Mando is presented with what would be his payment, Beskar. And we learn that later that the Beskar was the Mandalorians and was taken by the Empire when they colonized Mandalore, I'm assuming. And they say that they want the asset alive. But if the asset dies, you'll still get paid, just less. He gives Mando a tracking fob, the asset's age, and he says that should be more than enough for a bounty hunter of his caliber, which is true. That ends up being more than enough, as it turns out. And the exact quote from the client here is, the Beskar belongs back in the hands of the Mandalorian. It is good to restore the natural order of things after a period of such disarray. And here it's like, I'm curious as to what Moff Gideon's ties are. Like, he was an Imperial.
Yeah, what is he now though?
Like, is he trying to rebuild the Empire, or is he just trying to be like a fucking warlord, going around and just conquering territories? You know?
Yeah,
it's a good question.
I guess that's one of the main cliffhangers of season 1. You're just left. We really still don't.
which is so fascinating.
Yeah.
There wasn't even really a big bad. Like there was like a looming presence of like danger, but there was never like an immediate like we need to defeat this guy, you know? So, and he doesn't present himself to like the 7th episode of season 1, which is just incredible writing. Like to be able to preserve a great villain until season 2, when he's probably the one orchestrating things through season 1, is great writing.
Yeah.
Again, Mando makes his way through the streets, and we see some more great Star Wars references. We see something called a Kawaki and monkey lizard being cooked, and another one being prepared to be cooked. And these are the things that we saw in Jabba's palace that were like,
no way,
sitting next to him and all around him.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So apparently, those things are like you can cook them and eat them like they're food.
Damn.
Oh yeah, and the one in Jabba's palace, when I was researching this, the one in Jabba's palace's name was Salacious Crumb.
Wow.
Like they had names for everybody in the original trilogy. It's like every side character had a name, which is astounding. But Mando arrives back at the Mandalorian Covenant, and he pays a visit to the armorer, which badass character design again. The show is just so good at designing their characters. And the armorer explains that the Beskar was gathered by the Empire during the Great Purge. She says a pauldron would be in order. And that's that kick-ass shoulder piece that Mando has from here on in. And she asks if his signet has been revealed, which it is not yet. And he doesn't get his signet till like the last episode, right? Mm-hmm. It's like the clan of 2 or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's like represented by the Mudhorn, which is pretty badass. But I like just planting the seed there. Like, no, he does not have a signet yet, and it's just a throwaway. That ends up being something kind of important to him. And we watch her forge this pauldron from the Beskar. As she slams it, Mando has flashbacks from his, very traumatic experience as a child of basically watching his parents die. So here we learn that Mando has PTSD. It's a little rough. Do you think he has PTSD, or is he just like remembering things?
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, I'd say if anyone's parents died, and especially that fashion, I mean, you're a little kid, but still, you remember it.
It's pretty imposing.
It's going to be haunting for a very long time.
Yeah, and the way the slams of the hammer coincided with the explosions in the background, that's what lends me to believe it was like those were triggering memories, not just.
You don't think he looks back fondly on his parents dying?
I don't actually. Wouldn't. But after that, we learned that he was a foundling as we see these flashbacks, and eventually, when we get a full version of this scene, it's absolutely awesome. One of my favorite scenes in the entire season, but we'll save that for when we get to it. She locks Mando's pauldron on his shoulder, and they're set. Mando's off again. He's up in the Razor Crest, flying towards his next bounty. He lands his ship and follows the fob until he sees some blurgs out in the distance. Blurgs. Fucking blurg. Like, what kind of name is that? Blurg. I love it. And it's also not the first time we've seen blurgs. We got them in Star Wars Rebels, and I think we might have even gotten them in Clone Wars, but I can't remember.
Blurgs.
Love me a blurg. When he's looking through his gun scope at these blurgs, a blurg pops up real fucking close to him, and it reminded me a lot of, again, A New Hope, when Luke's looking through his binoculars and a Tusken Raider pops up in front of him. And I was like, they're really diligent about these things. Like, that's such. They wanted to make a show that they knew the fans would love, and like, you don't. Like John Favreau like cares about fan service.
Yes.
He's like actively like trying to insert fan service because he's like, well, why would you not want to service the fans?
And it's not just like fan service for the sake of fan service.
Exactly.
It's fan service to make like comedic scenes or things like that.
Yeah, and later on when we get Mando talking to the Tusken Raiders one-on-one instead of just fighting with them, I like that a lot. But here he battles with this blurg for a second, and then here comes Quill, riding up on his blurg to save the day, much like Obi-Wan Kenobi did to save Luke. when he rolled up on Tatooine with the crate dragon called him. And again, classic Star Wars alien, the Ugnaught, here with Queel. Saw them working on in the carbonite thing with in Empire Strikes Back. And he tells Mando that he will help him on his bounty and that he has spoken. Queel takes Mando back to his home to explain that many hunters have passed through, all seeking the same bounty. They all died. Mando's like, well, then I don't know if I really want your help if you helped all of them. And he's like, nah, you need it, bro. The way is only possible by Blurg mount. And he's like, bro, I don't know how to ride fucking Blurg. So, here, Mando has to ride a Blurg. And it takes a little, but eventually they get it down. He's like, yo, your ancestors rode the great mythosaur. You can do this. And I'd like to see a mythosaur.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like a pretty badass sort of creature.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the mythosaur is actually the emblem of the Mandalorians. Like, you know, that that skull-looking thing that like Boba Fett has on his armor.
Oh, yeah. Yep,
I'm pretty sure that's a mythosaur skull.
Interesting.
Yeah, so lots of little details. And but then we see the Blurg ride montage, and it's very fun. They run very funny. They arrive at the encampment, and Queel explains that he came to this world for peace, and all those that come to this world are seeking peace. And that if all the bounty hunters and chaos on this planet can stop, it is payment enough. He doesn't need anything from Mando. And Queel chose to help because he's heard the legend of the Mandalorian. He suspects he'll make quick work of this, and again, there will be peace. And like I love whenever we're following a character that has like legends surrounding them. You know, like people watch him walk into a room and they're like, "Oh shit!" They're like, "Oh fuck, a Mandalorian's here." Like that's badass. I love shit like that.
I would love to walk in a room and everyone would be scared of me, but it usually doesn't work like that.
I mean, I imagine the armor probably helps just a little bit.
Oh well, yeah, for sure. I mean, Pedro Pascal, he's a pretty good looking dude, but he doesn't look exactly like a hardened badass the way he does with the armor on.
Like Joseph, I imagine if you were wearing a suit of Mandalorian armor and walked into a room, people would probably be, probably a little scared.
For one, why is this dude wearing Mandalorian armor just walking in a random room?
And why is there a 5'7" Mandalorian in the first place?
Hey, some conspiracy theories that Baby Yoda could become a Mandalorian.
Yeah. Oh, a 2-foot Mandalorian.
Not too bad. Imagine like a Jawa Mandalorian.
Oh.
Like that's what we're looking at in Joe territory.
God.
But as Mando takes watch over this encampment, an IG unit moves in and starts fucking shit up, just destroying all of them. And we'd never seen an IG unit in action. We'd seen it in like Empire Strikes Back. We saw IG-88, but here we see this IG-11 just destroying shit, absolutely wrecking these people protecting Baby Yoda or holding him hostage. I'm still curious as to what the fuck was going on there. Why was he here? How long had he been there? How long has Baby Yoda been a prisoner? Are these things we'll learn?
Who knows? But what we do know is that fucking IG-11 has aimbot 100%.
Oh no,
yeah.
Of course.
It's unbelievable the way that dude can just take care of business.
Yeah, and I mean, Taika Waititi, he's just great. So him on The Voice just makes perfect sense. And Mando goes down to the IG unit and he's like, "Stand down!" But IG unit's like, "No!" Shoots him right in the fucking chest. And he goes down. And he has to explain that he's also in the guild. And they're like, "Well, this is highly unusual. We are both here when only one of us should be." And he's like, "Dude, we'll split it." And IG's like, "This is agreeable."
And another thing is that are these the same stormtroopers, guarding Baby Yoda, that are like with Moff Gideon, and like why would they be guarding him so much if the client wants him?
Well, these actually aren't stormtroopers. These are they're some sort of alien species called the Nictus, and like that's what I'm saying. Like there's like no explanation for why Baby Yoda was here.
Oh, you're right.
Well, and
I got it mixed up.
it could also just be that like there's the whole like a bunch of different warlords going around.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because
One
again, it's
warlord has it.
post-Empire.
Yeah, one warlord has it, and Moff Gideon's like, nah, I want Baby Yoda. I want to, run some tests on him and figure out how to take his force.
Do you think there's any chance that Moff Gideon has some force abilities?
It's
I
interesting.
don't think so.
It is very strange why Baby Yoda's just there.
That's the thing, though,
Yeah.
is that like Baby Yoda is a part of this show, and it adds an element. It adds the Force element, and it's like usually if you have the Force in a Star Wars product, there's not one example of it.
Mm-hmm. And where did he get his little baby carriage thing that floats around? Where did he get that?
Yoda had one of those too. So like, does it just come with him? Like, does this species just like get an egg? Like,
Probably. I mean, heck, for the first 100 years of their life, they're not, fully
not big at
developed.
all.
So
yeah,
That's true.
They're babies for 100 years, which is
yeah,
crazy. But anyway, IG gets shot, and then all hell breaks loose, and they have to shoot their way through a lot of dudes. And when they appear to be pinned down, IG's like, going into self-destruction mode. And Mando's like, yo, chill the fuck out. We'll figure this shit out. Run that way. Draw their fire. And then that's when they brought out the giant Gatling-style ion cannon. And Mando takes the dude out, takes the space Gatling gun, and just mows down everybody in sight. Pretty fucking badass. Again, this is what reminded me of Batman 2, is because he shot out the grappling hook. It was like, pulled him down, and then just hopped on that bitch. It was pretty badass.
Yeah, bad decision for them to introduce that Gatling gun.
Yeah. They were like, you know what, this is a good idea. And frankly,
Maybe.
there was only two of them. It wasn't a bad idea. Like...
Maybe just next time do it a little further away.
The problem was going just following the droid with it when he ran out. I mean, I get the instinct, but shit. So when Mando goes to pick up IG-11, he's like, "You're not so bad for a droid." And IG-11's like, "Agreed." Then they knock down the door. They walk in there, and they find one last Nick-2. They have to shoot him down. They're like, "Anyone else?" But then they find the little pod. And when they open it, we see, for the first time, in all his greatness, all his glory, Baby Yoda. King shit.
Damn. What a dude, man.
The thing that'll make Disney, millions and millions of dollars.
Now, do you think that they knew Baby Yoda was going to be an instant meme and classic?
I don't know if they could have predicted the extent to which he became such a phenomenon. Like, this is the biggest thing to come out of Star Wars probably since Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back. In terms of pop culture.
Yeah, I don't think they imagined it was going to be quite as big, but I think they knew it was going to be big because that's why
it was a huge reveal.
It was a huge reveal, and that's why all the plush dolls and all that stuff that Disney ended up making were months behind a normal release because they didn't want to have the designs go out to the manufacturers and get leaked, and then they would just be like, "Oh, there's this little Baby Yoda thing that they're selling. What are they selling it for?" And then it was going to be spoiled.
Yeah. And you know what makes me sad is that whenever I first saw Baby Yoda, I was like, "Oh my god, it's Yoda! This is such a long time ago." And then I'm like, "Wait a minute!
He just died.
What what timeline am I in? What am I thinking of?" And then I got it back on track, and I'm like,
"Yep, I thought the exact same thing.
This is a whole new Yoda." And I got even more excited.
Yeah, I thought new old Yoda, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, this is after the Empire."
Yeah,
this isn't right.
Yeah, and we'd only seen one other of Yoda's species, and that's Yaddle. Back in Phantom Menace. Obviously, the theories go around that this is Yaddle and Yoda's baby
100%.
because naturally we've seen one male Yoda and we've seen one female Yoda species. Naturally, the one baby Yoda species is their child.
They're not just going to bring up some other two people that made Baby Yoda. No, there's no way. Maybe they produce asexually. We don't know, or do we know?
Maybe.
I hope they do. I don't want to imagine Yoda having. That's just not something that wants
Yoda making whoopee.
Okay, a very strange meme that went around about Baby Yoda is: would you rather blend him up in a smoothie because he looks really good to eat, or would you rather keep him as your own baby?
Keep him as my own baby.
Yeah, why is that even a question?
Okay,
yeah, that's
I don't know why.
But
there's a movement of people that absolutely hate Baby Yoda and they just want to eat him. I don't know why.
It just makes zero sense.
That's such a specific type of hatred.
I know.
Yeah.
I hate you so much that I want to grind you up in a smoothie and drink it.
I mean, kind of would be good though, maybe.
I don't know. He does look a little yummy.
Like green apple or
I just don't know about that.
watermelon flavor.
Yeah, I don't think he ate that frog.
Okay.
Yoda reminds me, like, do you remember Lion King when Timon and Pumbaa like ate all those bugs?
Yes.
And you were kind of like, ew, but maybe. That's the deal here. it's like, ew, I wouldn't eat him, but like,
Maybe though.
They deliberate about the course of action. IG-11's like, we must eliminate the asset, and we get the zoom on Mando's face. He's like, then we hear, Plum! And we're like, no, IG-11 just killed the baby. But then we see IG-11 collapse to the ground.
Yeah.
And we're like, fuck yeah, Mando killed him. And then they have this dope-ass creation of Adam moment where they're just like reaching for each other's hands, and I love it every time.
Ooh.
Such a beautiful shot. Did you guys watch the making of the Mandalorian documentary?
No.
I did not.
Yeah, they've got an 8-episode docuseries about the making of it, and there's a piece that as soon as they drew up the idea to reveal Baby Yoda, this is the shot that Dave Filoni like drew on a napkin.
Damn. Interesting. Well, I know what I'm watching now tonight.
Oh, dude, it's fucking... It just gives you such a... I already had a great appreciation for it, but an even greater appreciation for just how like they're advancing technology for television and film. Like they're setting a new standard for what's probably going to be the deal for action type series and stuff.
That's true. I really wish... I mean, a movie's completely different, but if they just put this amount of effort into, the sequels... Just saying. Just saying.
Well, and see, that's the thing is that I think hopefully now they realized how badly they messed up.
Mm-hmm.
And now the next time they want to go into a movie trilogy, maybe, if they ever decide to do that again, that they'll have the sense about them to go, okay, we need one person to plan this whole thing out, and then we need to execute it. We can't just go movie to movie and not know what the fuck we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, like, we can take some chances in the storyline, and it doesn't have to be just the exact same movies as, every other trilogy that we've made.
And maybe not switch directors every other movie. I don't know.
Man.
That could be a problem.
It could be. This show, that docuseries goes into how all the different directors on every episode, like, were super tight-knit and working together. Mm-hmm. To make a cohesive story that went really well together, and just like I grew a great appreciation for like Deborah Chow and or Deborah Chow. I can never remember how to pronounce her last name. And then like Rick Famuyiwa, I think is how you pronounce his name. Like these people are just fucking so talented, so cool. They have such a creative vision, and it's wonderful to watch it executed.
Yeah. And I'm kind of glad, like, I think everyone wanted an Obi-Wan series, like, first.
Everyone.
Like, everyone wanted it first. But I do think, like, kind of taking a break from lightsabers and the Force, I mean, kind of, because Baby Yoda has it, but it's not really developed. Just taking a break from all of it and then showing an entire new world is just so, like, exactly what everyone needed, I guess.
Oh, exactly.
Star Wars will never get old.
Star Wars could go in a new direction.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be what it's always been.
Yeah.
Lightsabers will never get old. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, never.
But this series is just what everyone didn't know they needed, but they needed.
Oh, exactly. It was just perfect. And that was the end of Season 1, Chapter 1, The Mandalorian, directed by Dave Filoni, written by Jon Favreau. It was a very, very, very good first episode of television. I remember setting it down after the first watch and just going, holy shit, I need to watch that again. And just, just watching it again because I loved it so damn much.
And I'm glad they released it like week by week because
That's the way.
I've only
This
watched
is the way.
one other show week to week because I liked it so much, and that was Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, yeah.
And I was like,
Pedro Pascal was also in that.
yeah, I do like to binge shows, but shows that are so good and so well written that leave you on a cliffhanger every single episode, and it's not just like a cliche cliffhanger. Like
It's a genuine, like, okay, well, now I have to see what happens next.
And so many people talk about it. So many theories are made, even off episode 1. And it's just, what a series, man.
What a series. And next week, we will be back with Season 1, Chapter 2 of The Mandalorian. I believe that one's called The Child, straight up. So we got The Mandalorian, then we got The Child.
Straight up?
Yeah, I dig that. I dig that a lot. So next week, it'll be us 3, and we'll have one more with us. We'll have a cat named Kyler Barnett on with us. I had him on Koro's Companion podcast a few months back for Iron Man episodes, and it'll be a most enjoyable conversation.
Awesome, man. Yeah. I can't wait.
Well, thanks for joining me, guys. This has been the Penny Bloom podcast. I am Colton Robertson, joined by Joseph George and Miles Buttress. And this is the Mandalorian Rewatch pod that you are going to need to experience, because it's the shit, frankly.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. I love you guys.
Love you too, man.
Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.